Uh, awesome. All right. All yours, Jacob.
Okay, let me share my screen just here. So all right. So I'm going to talk about Tmux, and Tmux stands for Terminal Multiplexer, and that is kind of weird, maybe to a few people, but it's basically um, just a way to have multiple terminals going in a way that you can script and just have greater control, because you could always have multiple terminal windows and tabs, and a lot of people do that. They have um, a terminal, and then they open up you know more windows or more tabs. Alacrity is a terminal emulator which doesn't have tabs, so in that case you just open up more and more terminal windows, and people will arrange the windows in whatever orientation they want. Tmux is kind of an alternative, frankly, a better way of having multiple terminals, because there's a whole variety of reasons. But one reason is that it's a client server model. And what that means is that when you have the Tmux server running and you detach, so as a client, you can attach or detach, and that server, Tmux server, is still running regardless of who's attached or not attached. So that means you can start a server on a Tmux process on some remote computer. You can close your SSH session or whatever, and the Tmux server just continues to run. So you basically get persistence, you know, and normally without Tmux, or there's a whole slew of programs like GNU Screen is another alternative to Tmux, but all these programs, they're just designed to basically make interacting with terminal um, better and more powerful. So Tmux is a program written in C, developed by this guy Nicholas Marriott, and um, it's been around for a while. And like I said, predecessors like GNU Screen and others were around before, and Tmux just kind of came along and really perfected this whole concept, in my opinion. And yeah, so it's written in C, and it uses end curses and other stuff like that. And it's quite a nice program. And the way Tmux is oriented or designed is that you have the server running, then the server can have multiple sessions, and then each session can have multiple windows, and then each window can have multiple panes. So a session is kind of like um, the terminology is a little bit confusing, because I think of session as more of like um, I think of it more as like a window, and then I think of it the window as more of like a tab, and then pane is more of like a pane. And so I can demonstrate that. So I'm in a Tmux session right now, but let me just create a new session, and I can give it any name, my session. And then inside this session, I can have as many windows as I want. And over here, I can choose between the various windows. And then in each window, I can have multiple panes, right? So in this window, I can have 4 panes. In this window, I can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panes. So you can have as many panes as you want in each window, and each window is independent of the other windows, right? So this basically enables you to do whatever you want. You can script whatever dev setup or whatever, could be dev, could be, infra, could be DevOps, whatever the case may be. You can create whatever setup you want and completely script it. And I have like one where I have 32 REPLs. So like some of these, like I can create 32 panes and then have in each pane various read, eval, print loops programs going. That's what I just did, which is, whatever you want to do. I like to do a lot of programming and all these different languages and stuff like that. So, I've got Bash and I've got J Shell, which is Java, Node, IEX, Lua, OCaml, REPL, Closure REPL, Groovy, PHP, whatever. So you can do whatever you want. You can completely script your setup, which, that's what I just showed you is clearly not possible without a lot of typing and clicking if you were to do it manually. I guess you could go and create 32 terminal windows if you wanted. You would have a lot of overhead of the window, top bar and stuff like that. I wouldn't advise that. And then you'd have to go in and type all the REPL commands. It's not a good idea, in my opinion.
I have a
So
question.
questions?
Maybe a bit early, but when do you use windows versus panes? What's the use case between them?
Okay, so a window contains panes. So whenever you have a window, you always have panes. It's just the window, how many panes are in the window? There's at least one pane in the window, right? You always have a window and you have one pane. Now the question is, how many panes do I want to get the job done, right? Do I just need 4 panes? Do I need 10 panes? What do I want? How do I want to split it up, right? So I can have 2 panes like this. Maybe I got, a program like HTOP running over here and over here, I'm gonna do some node server or whatever. I don't know. Could be anything.
Do you ever want to have multiple windows though, where you have like, maybe 3 panes over here and then
Think of it like screens. So you have a screen that's got, maybe a 50/50 browser. You got another screen with some other configuration of windows. It's the same. The panes are those splits. The window is like a full screen.
got it?
Yeah. Yeah, the window is, it's like I think of it as kind of like as a tab because, I've got like a tab bar here and I can choose different tabs. And then in each tab, I can like basically like a browser tab, and then each tab I can have, whatever orientation I want of panes. The browser doesn't allow you to split up like a tab like this, but that's, I kind of think of it as like that, but yeah, I mean, each window has one or more panes and you can split them up however way you want. And that's really the core of Tmux is that functionality. And there's a lot more to Tmux because you can, so all these panes, you can actually take the contents and you can send them to any other pane. So basically you can grab the output from any of these panes and you can basically, script it in a way that you communicate between any pane that you want. You can grab the content from any pane. You can do a lot of stuff. That's one of the big advantages of Tmux is its scripting ability. And another thing I didn't talk about is so with Tmux, because it's a client server model, you can have as many clients as you want attaching to a session. So in this case, I only have one client, right? But say I had another terminal window and I wanted to attach. Okay. So what just happened there was now I have 2 clients attached to the same session. And one of these clients has a smaller window, terminal window. Does that make sense? See this? And so what Tmux does is it say, okay, you got 2 clients attached to the same session. Well, the guy with the bigger screen, he's only going to be able to see what the guy with the smaller screen can see, because otherwise it's going to be confusing to the smaller guy with stuff coming off. He's not going to be able to see everything, right? So the smaller client determines the size like of the session as it's presented. Does that make sense?
Yep. Mhm.
So that's basically what Tmux is doing in the background is it's, just showing, you know, the guy with the bigger screen. Well, you've got somebody else attached. He's got a smaller screen, so I'm only going to present, it like this. And so right now I just have two clients on my local host, right? Attached to the same session, but you could have two clients from anywhere, attached to the same session if that session was on some, network computer that you both could access, right? So, a lot of people use this to do like pair programming or something on some remote server. They create a Tmux session and multiple people SSH in, and everything you type, either person as they're typing, it all gets reflected like in both, screens, right? Because it's just propagated. So, you can type in either terminal window and it's still going to go to the other, window, right? Blah, 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 blah. Doesn't, right? Because it's all the same session. So it doesn't matter how many clients you have, if they're all using the same session, then they're all going to see the same output, same input, same output to the session. And there's other ways of, there's some more advanced configuration where you can have people like clients attaching it. I think is like different users or something where basically, there's all these permissions and things like that where you can have sessions where only some people can see it and stuff like that, depending on who you're logged in as, whether you can see certain sessions and stuff like that. There's, I'm not going to go into that, but there's a lot of different intricacies you can do for like who can attach and what they can see and blah, blah, blah. So why is Tmux better than multiple terminal windows? Well, the main thing really is scripting and automation. You can send commands or key presses to any terminal pane in any window in any session. So you can also copy and paste output from any terminal pane in any window in any session. And Tmux has its own scripting language, so you can have like a repeatable, custom setup, whatever you want. And another advantage is Tmux server. It runs persistently. The clients detach, attach, it doesn't matter, it's still going. So you could have a Tmux session and you could have some program running, really long for a really long time. You can detach, like I'm detached now, but reattach later, the program is still going. So it works on a headless server, right? You can have a Tmux running on a server with no screen and status bars. Another thing, Tmux has status bars where you can customize it. Like at the bottom here, we've got a status bar and it shows me upload, download speed, CPU usage, memory, load averages, uptime, date, time, battery percentage, remote IP, host name. And that's completely customizable. You can put whatever you want in the status bar. I'm using a library called Powerline Status, but you can do whatever you want, actually. And Tmux is so powerful that even if I was just running one pane, I would rather have it inside of Tmux than, just a regular terminal window because of all the scripting possibilities, stuff like that. So I can show you one of the scripting possibilities. So something that I worked on, let's just create a new Tmux session. Just call it test. And then in here, I'm going to create an Angular app. Do I want to add Angular routing? Just do the defaults. And I'm going to show you one thing you do with Tmux, and that is you can capture the output of the pane, and then you can filter it out and do whatever you want with that output. So wait for that. So let's go to some people's example Tmux setups that if you Google Tmux, you'll see. So you've got a Tmux window here, right? You can see at the bottom, they've got two windows, debug and dev. You can name your windows, whatever you want. And then in their window, they've got 3 panes in the top. They got H top. It should be H top. Bottom left, they got Z shell going. And the bottom right, they've got man curl. So maybe that's your setup. I don't know. Who knows? Another Tmux window. Gen 2 system. Gen 2 is the Linux distro. They got 4 panes. They got in the top, they got Z shell. On the right, they got Vim. And they're editing their Tmux configuration file with Vim. The bottom left, they've got some MP3 player. And then the top got Z shell. Top left, they've got another Z shell. So yeah, I mean, it's all personal. What do you want to do with your terminal? How do you want to create your own setup? You know, it's all up to the user. This is one of my setups. I got H top left, mid left. I got CCZE, which is a log file parser colorizer. Glances, which is a Python program I don't use anymore. It's way too slow. Top right, Z shell. Top, bottom right, IF top, which is a network monitoring tool. Another setup. This is one I really like. I got 4 VIMs going in each pane, and so I can just open up this window and do a bunch of configs. And I don't have to continually open and reopen config files that I'm always editing, like my Z shell RC or Vim RC or Tmux conf or whatever. And I can easily copy and paste between the panes because I just used the system clipboard inside of Vim. So another one I showed earlier was these 32 panes of REPLs. Got 4 rows and 8 columns. So how do you install Tmux? Depends on your package manager. But the package is named Tmux, so it's usually pretty easy. Tmux-v, capital V will list the version. 3.3a is what I'm running right now. And then another thing with Tmux is there's a lot of flexibility with how you run your subcommand. So Tmux is how that's the main command. After that, you run your subcommand. So there's a whole bunch of subcommands. I have Z shell completion on them. So I can do attach session, bind key, break pane, capture pane, choose buffer, choose client, choose tree, clear history, clock mode. I don't ever use that. Some people like that though. Pane, let's see, you can list the panes, list panes. Or no, wait, what's the one where it shows you the numbers? Tmux and numbers pane, so you can show the numbers. I forgot what that is, so I'm using a key binding. Anyway, so you can do Tmux the subcommand. You can also do the prefix. So the concept of the prefix is that you press a certain keystroke, key binding, and then you're directly interacting with Tmux. So the default is Control B. And so I'm using Control A because that was the old screen one prefix, and I like that one better. So I do Control A, and then I do colon. And now I can do any subcommand that I want. So like list panes. That is the same as doing Tmux list panes. Right? It's the same way. This is literally the same exact thing. The difference is list panes in the colon mode. It's kind of like Vim, the colon mode, prefix colon. Is the output goes into this like temporary buffer here, as opposed to just regular standard out. But yeah, there's also prefix plus a key binding. So that's, you press the prefix, whatever you have that set to, default is Control B, and then you press a key, like I just pressed Q, and that listed the pane numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3. Not all Tmux subcommands have a key binding. You have to, if you do Tmux LSK, and there's a lot of aliases here, so you could do Tmux list keys, which is the same as LSK, it's just alias open less. So you can look at all the key bindings that are available. Ignore the copy mode for now. Let's see, I got prefix. I want to look for prefix Q. All right, prefix Q. So that is display panes. So Tmux display panes. And then I can pass a timeout, do 5 seconds. So I can list the pane numbers like that, or I could do prefix colon display panes. This is, I'm just demonstrating. These are the exact same ways of doing, and every Tmux subcommand can be, invoked one of these 4 ways. The 4th way is you just write the subcommand. So in a Tmux script, if you want to script Tmux, then basically, let me just open up my Tmux conf. Basically, in a Tmux script file, you just write the subcommands and then that's it. It's the same exact thing. So if I did Tmux source file this, like this way, I could do it that way. I could do prefix colon, do that way, or I don't have a key binding for it, but if I did, I could invoke it that way, or I can have it in a script file and then I can basically just source the script file, just like Tmux source file. So those are the 4 ways of running any Tmux subcommand. Questions?
No,
Yeah, so the Tmux subcommand one, you can run that from anywhere. So you can be outside of Tmux and you can be running Tmux commands. So you don't have to be inside of Tmux. Obviously with the prefix, you got to be inside attached to Tmux session. So if I'm outside of a Tmux session, I can still run any Tmux, command. And you can actually, there's usually a -T option, and that specifies the target. Usually you can specify the target session that you want to send your command to. In this case, it's the client. But say you had, multiple sessions, you would need to pick where are you sending your Tmux commands, right? Because it's not clear. When you're attached to a session, it's clear where you're sending your commands, right? When you're not attached to a session, it's not clear where you're sending your commands. Like each session in Tmux is its own thing. If that makes sense. Like when you're sending commands, it's to a session, and that's like distinct from, the other sessions. The server has all the, multiple sessions, but whenever you're doing commands, it can only be sent to a particular session because it's like its own, thing.
can you write a command in one pane and have it directed to another pane?
Yeah. Yeah. You can target with Tmux, you can have any subcommand target any session, any pane in any window in any session. So if you're just saying between a pane in the same session, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying like, I think that's what I'm saying. If I'm typing in one pane and I want to like either run it run the same command in multiple panes, or
Yeah.
directly send it to another
Yeah.
pane.
Yeah, that for the command for that is Tmux send keys. So you send keys, like whatever. And then I need to be able to, you gotta specify the target like this. So you'd have to specify the target pane. And then, so basically here, now this is like Z shell completion, right? So I can specify which pane I want. So remember I've got the panes numbered 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So I gotta pick which pane 0, 1, 2, 3. So I'll just say 0 and then I just type whatever. See, goes right there. And this is all, I can send it to all different panes. Whatever. And you can also, but the thing is, you can also send it to a different window, right? I send it to a different window, and then in that window, I need to pick the pane, right? So I'm just demonstrating sending it to this window, but what about this window? Well, it's easy because I just say window 1, and then I choose the pane. So now it just went over to this window, or it should have, whatever, right? See, now it's over here. And that concept, I can also send it to another session. So I can say, let me create another session. Tmux new session. Test 2. Okay. So I'll say, I'm going to send it to test 2. Which window do I want? 0. Which pane do I want? Then send the string. So now it went over here. See?
So the address is session window pane.
Session : window dot pane.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, that just demonstrates so you can have as many sessions as you want, as many windows, as many panes, and you can all communicate between them, which is pretty powerful. And you can also do, like, if we're just gonna do a trivial thing like this, where we're just echoing, then we can also do Tmux synchronized panes. Where is it? Synchronize. Where is it? There's a synchronized panes option, I forgot. But you can basically, I just turned it on with this prefix command that I have, but you can just, type whatever and it gets echoed to all the panes. If we're just gonna do something trivial like that, right? Every keystroke gets duplicated, right? So I'm running 4 IDs, 4 PWDs, 4 sleeps all at once, right? I thought that was synchronized panes, but I don't remember. What is it? Oh, set window option synchronized panes. That's what you do. Tmux set window option synchronized panes on or off. Right. That's how you do that. I don't think it's that really useful. It's more of a, party trick. But anyways, yeah. So the prefix defaults to control B, but you can change it to wherever you want in your Tmux config file. And your main Tmux config file is in your home directory, tmux.conf, right? And this is the main config file. And like I mentioned before, you put any subcommand in this file and it gets run, sequentially when Tmux starts, the server starts. And there's a whole variety of things you can do with configuring Tmux. There's a lot. So there's, a whole bunch of different default key bindings, like, there's prefix %, do a split horizontally or vertical, whatever. Some people call it vertical, some people call it horizontal. There's prefix, double quotes, prefix C creates a new window. I like that one. Creates a new window. Prefix, and some of these, and a lot of these I've modified for my own preferences. But prefix N, prefix previous window, next window, blah, blah, blah. And it wraps around. You just press N over and over again, and it just keeps on cycling, which is kind of cool. And that's actually a recursive key binding because you can just keep on pressing it and it doesn't, like a normal Tmux key binding, whenever you press the key, the prefix activator like goes away. So you can only run one, key binding. But with a recursive key binding, you can just, there's like a timeout and that prefix is still activated during the timeout. That's why I'm just pressing N and it's not, the prefix is still activated. So with my Tmux status bar, whenever I do the prefix in the bottom left, I can see it, become active. And there's a timeout for the prefix. as well. And you can also, I just press, you know, escape, and that gets me out of the prefix. So. Yeah, I talked about colon mode already. So whenever you type Tmux on the command line, you're starting a server, right? And that also creates a session as well. You can create a session manually like this. You can give a session name. You can create a window manually, give it a name. You can rename the windows, whatever you want. You can rename the sessions, rename the windows. I'm just doing various key bindings, but you can do Tmux rename window, rename session, right? Or rename session. Oh yeah, each session has to have a unique name. You'll see that session name gets changed right here. So I rename the window. Window HT blah. Oh, I need to set the target blah. So I've got this window named blah, and then I can set the other window to blah too. So there we go. I got two windows named and a session name. And that's it's really the advantage of that is that now you can easily send keys to a named window, and then it makes more sense, right? Stuff like that. I mean, it shows you, you know, it's just for basically making it easier to tell what you're doing.
So anything you type in as a Tmux command, is that also available as a prefix command? If I use the colon.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's 4 ways to do every Tmux subcommand. Yep. So you can do it in colon mode. Yeah, so prefix colon, rename, session, dash T. Well, in this case, I'm not getting Z cell completion, so it sucks. But yeah, see, I renamed it to test 4. So yeah. Yep. And that's actually really useful to be able to put rename session and stuff like that in a script file, because then you can source the script file and you can have, like, you know, your session with its own name and your windows and everything. Like, you know, if you wanted to script things, which actually that's what I do, is my main. I just close out of all this. Test. So my, like, one of my scripts, I just rename the session. See, I renamed the session and I renamed the window as part of my script. And then I created 5 panes and then ran whatever commands I wanted in those panes. Right. That was a script. All right, Tmux, you can list everything that, you know, all the components. You can list sessions, windows, panes, keys, the key bindings, clients, who's attached, commands. There's all the various subcommands. You can list the buffers. Tmux buffers are basically just a container for a string, and you can do whatever you want. What's that? What's that?
Those shortcuts default.
Yeah, these are all default aliases. Yeah. Yep. So in my Z shell completion, Tmux, and I hit tab, it shows me the alias in the right column here. There's tons of aliases, but I was just showing you the list one. So list buffers, there's alias for LSB, list clients, LSC, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, those are all default. So if you want to save a few keystrokes, yeah. Yeah, so that should be pretty obvious. So with the buffers, like I said, that's just basically each buffer is just a way to hold some strings. So, you know, you can copy into the buffer, you can paste from the buffer. And so you could actually use Tmux buffers instead of the system clipboard. Like if you were doing the whole, you know, copy and paste between Vim, you could use Tmux buffers to do that, but I prefer to use system clipboard just because now when I'm on the system clipboard, I can go anywhere with it. Whereas Tmux buffer, I'm just limited to Tmux. So I think that's inferior solution.
For the using the clipboard, the system clipboard, did you have to do any special config setting? I remember a few years back I had some issues with copying and paste.
Yeah, so what I do is in my vimrc, I just you set the, let's see. I know there's that whole what is it? Oh, man. Paste, let's see. Now we're going into Vim stuff. But forgot. Basically, Vim has the percent buffer or what, or register. And that's usually linked to system clipboard. And then I forgot there's something else with Mac OS. There was something with the paste. You had to jump around. It's been so long since I configured that. Something with.
I think I have something similar. You have like copy mode VI in your Tmux comp.
Yeah, I do, but that's not what I use though. So I can talk about copy mode, but basically copy mode is, so say you're in a Tmux pane, right? You know, it doesn't matter how many you have. You know, it could be any pane and you scroll up with the mouse. Now I'm in the copy mode. And so this is basically all the contents of the pane in the history, right? And I can see there's 70 lines. I scroll through them and then I can click and drag and so, you know, get whatever I want. I just press Y and now it's on my system clipboard.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah, yeah, this is the
It's-
Tmux copy mode VI, and the reason it's called VI is because whenever I'm in it, I can just use the VI key bindings like JK, H and L, right? And then I press Y and then it's on my system clipboard. But yeah, I was talking about the Vim. It's a Vim thing. I thought there was something with Mac where you had to run some command to get it to go to the system clipboard correctly. I can't remember now. But yeah, I just use in Vim, they have the, you know, the star register. And that's supposed to be linked to your system clipboard. So, you know, there's the star register. And I just use that. Everything, like whenever I'm in Vim, I just make my selection with visual mode. And I have control B, like it's just some key binding to send my visual selection into the system clipboard. And then I can paste it anywhere, you know. But that's what I do. That's my preferred way. The problem, like, so the problem with the Tmux copy mode, in my opinion, is that basically when you're in it, whatever you select, it includes like stuff that's not in my file, right? It includes all the Vim, you know, escapes and all that stuff, like the Vim gutter and line numbers. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've
I-
run into.
I don't want line numbers, like, you know what I'm saying? I just want the code. I don't care about the line numbers. That's why I don't use the Vim copy mode. Because as you can see, when I'm using Vim copy mode, I'm getting the line numbers from Vim. You know, everything that was presented to the screen, which I frankly don't care about. So all I do is I just make a selection in Vim visual mode, and then I use the system clipboard. I send it in the system clipboard. That's what I do. That's what I recommend because you know the visual mode in Vim is designed for this type of thing. You know, making a selection. And yeah, so star register. Anyways, getting sidetracked. So Tmux, you can kill a pane, you can kill a window, kill a session, kill a server. So, I can be over here, say Tmux kill pane. I'm not giving it a target, so it's just defaults to the current pane. And I could kill this window, whatever. Pretty obvious what that's doing. You can attach to a session like this. You can attach to any session you want. You can detach from any session. Window will resize the size of the smallest client. I demoed that. Tmux config file is this. The prefix, you can change the prefix. It's really easy. Just say set -g. -g means global. And set is actually just sets. Tmux set is an alias for set option. And then -g, and this is a global session option. And then you say prefix, and then you put in whatever you want. That's how you change it. It's really easy. One thing I really like to do is I bind the prefix and the pipe to splitting the window. I like to think of that as horizontally. So prefix pipe is pretty useful. And then I do prefix dash to split it vertically like this, because that makes more sense because of I don't know, it's more semantic with pipe and dash. So you can do whatever you want. Obviously it's the user's config, so they can do whatever commanding they want. Tmux bind is just an alias for bind key. So yeah. Tmux scripts. Talked a little bit about this, but it's just a list of Tmux subcommands or commands, whatever, and it just goes sequentially, top down, runs through the commands and does things exactly as if you had typed all these commands yourself, except it does it a lot faster and it's very useful. And so this is how I create setups for myself, is I just create a script file and then I trigger the script file with some key binding. And that's what I do. So prefix capital, let's create a new window, prefix capital T. This is my 4 Vim panes config file thing. There we go. I just had you can do locks and stuff. I just had that there was some previous issue with my command line, not getting everything ready by the time I was doing stuff. But anyways, so you can do whatever you want, and then you can put it all in a file, bind that file to be sourced whenever you do some key binding, and there you go. And there's other ways to script setups. There's Tmux, there's Tmuxinator, as I know, was a scripting thing, basically a wrapper layer on Tmux scripts. And then there was, what is it? Tmux.
Just found one today called AirMux.
Oh, really? Tmux Resurrect is the one I was thinking about. So the only thing is, okay, so you restart your computer. Well, your Tmux goes away because your Tmux server's gonna stop. So as soon as the Tmux server stops, you just lost all your sessions. So then, of course, the solution is to store all your stuff in a file. So that's what Tmux Resurrect does, is it lists all your sessions and windows and panes in a file. And then you call Tmux Resurrect, and then it basically restores everything. And then it creates all these automatic backups. That's what all of these are. And so, yeah, it works pretty well. First of all, I really just mostly use one session and stuff like that. And so I usually just do this whole script files. So I don't even really mess around with that. But if you had some really intricate setup, there's solutions for persisting it between reboots. And there's a Tmux plugin manager, which is pretty cool. And, it's, you can install plugins and stuff like that, which, is cool. I use that. So in the Tmux directory, .tmux, and I go into plugins, I've got some, plugins in here, and plugins are really just, Tmux script files, really, ultimately, that get sourced, and then you can use all the functionality. So the one I want to demonstrate, the one that I rewrote, which I really like, is this one, the FCF URL. So I just do ng serve. So I'm in some Angular app, right? And then I do ng serve, and it's just gonna boot up the server. And then now it's showing me, okay, your server's running on localhost 4200. Okay. And so I could go into my browser and type that out, of course, localhost 4200, but that's the slow way. The better way is to use this plugin. I just do prefix E, and then it basically gets the content and searches for all the URLs, and then I hit enter and opens my browser. And I also get a preview over here of the HTML. So anyways, I like that. It's useful for me. So that's a little plugin. It's basically, just adding a little bit of functionality. So it's taking the contents and putting it into FCF. And then whenever FCF is a fuzzy finder, so, I could type, whatever. And then whenever I hit enter, it's gonna open up my browser to that URL. I can also search. I have other functionalities where instead of just opening up the URL or whatever, it'll search for it on Google. And then other things, one other thing I wrote that was pretty cool is this whole concept of the thumbs, Tmux thumbs, where I do prefix space and it captures all the contents of all my panes. And now I can, it's showing me in pink this little section of text that I can grab. So I type TR, it's going to grab user bin core audio D, stuff like that. So, this is like another plugin that I wrote, which is pretty cool. So yeah, there's a lot of plugins out there of varying quality, of course. Yeah, this is just demonstrating you can do whatever scripts whatever you want, and you can send keys. That's the thing, is you select a pane, whatever pane you want, and then you just send the keys. So I can select a pane, I can send htop, and then I do control M, which is just the character turn key, and that just runs that command in that particular pane. And so you can have your own your whole setup here. And this is what I do all the time. This is how I do all my setups, is I just create a bunch of panes, send the command I want to the pane, done. There's my setup. This is what I just demonstrated, Tmux FCF URL. So you do prefix E and it just opens any URL, grabs all the pane contents and then searches for URLs. And then you select them in FCF and then opens up your browser to that URL. You can also do prefix U, and then it's gonna search Google for that URL. And you can do whatever you want. I just had URLs, but you could change the regex, to whatever you want. If you wanted to search for other stuff. Tmux thumbs also demonstrated this. You can select, you take the whole contents of all these panes, and then you can like pick little sections of it. And that's also based on regex, which you can change. This is the regex I use. And then you can like search Google for it. You could open it with your system, like system open commands, etc. Copy it to system clipboard. One of the things that I like the most though is in the Tmux copy mode. So if there's some output and I go into the Tmux copy mode by just scrolling up, I can make a selection of whatever, just click and drag, and then I press S and it searches Google for that, which is very useful because a lot of times you get, output going to the screen. And then, like I could just Google it. So I could just take this, press S. Boom. A lot easier than other ways of doing things. So, obviously it's just URL encoded and put into the browser at this, search, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah. So, yeah, there's basically, I'm just demonstrating you can do freaking a lot with Tmux and you can script it. And that's, people just go crazy with Tmux because you can literally grab the contents of any part of any window of, any pane in any window in any session. And you can do whatever you want with that output. So it's pretty cool in my opinion. So basically most of these things work by, I think it's capture pane. So you just do Tmux capture pane dash P is what's standard out dash capital J. What is that? Just preserve joins wrap lines, preserve joining space. Okay, it's just basically preserving the context exactly. So anyways, once you captured the pane output, you can grep through it, whatever you want to do. Oops, messed up. You could grep through it and then, possibilities are really endless once you have the output. You can do, you could do regex search through it, then open up the browser to whatever you found or whatever. I mean, that's how a lot of these things are working is with capture pane. And, it just doesn't have to be this pane. It could be any pane in any window in any session, right? So I could go to test 2, I could go here. So this is some other session that I'm not attached to, and I'm grabbing, that window, test 2. I'll just type PWD, right? And now test 2. Why is it not? Should be showing up here. What am I doing wrong? Oh, it's here. I was just confused. So yeah, so here's the output, here's the command, here's the output. It's showing me all my prompt stuff, right? Which is kind of noise, but yeah, it just grabs all the output and shoves it right here. So, that's how a lot of these scripts are working, is capture pane subcommand. But there's so many subcommands in Tmux, it's pretty crazy. There's all these things you can do, like you can take panes and you can rotate them around and like rotate window, do all this crazy stuff, like rotate the panes around, downward, upward. Like I don't ever do this at all because I think it's pointless. Why would I want to do this? But I mean, basically the author of Tmux, went crazy and just freaking did everything possible. So you can do a ton of stuff with Tmux. That's just kind of incredible. Like, I don't know. It's kind of limitless what you can do, in my opinion. He recently added this functionality. Most people don't know about this, but you can right click on any window and you get like this context menu, which is kind of cool. So you could kill the window, respawn, marking a window is just basically you get this little extra rectangle, which I don't think is that useful, but yeah, I'd have forgot which version he introduced this in, but you can right click on these windows. You can also right click on the session and you get this little dialog box. You can also just press the keys that are listed on the right to do whatever. You can kill it, capital X. So that's kind of cool. But I never use that. I don't think it's that useful, but you know, there are, you know, there's always new features. It's pretty regularly updated program. It's quite a good program. In fact, it's pretty amazing. There's also the choose tree. Choose tree is kind of cool because basically you can go through all your sessions and windows and panes, and you can select which one you want to put your cursor in. So I can say, I want to go to the Z power session, the first window, and I want to put my cursor in this 5th pane, right? So that's Tmux choose tree, and it's pretty cool. It gives you a preview of, whoops, when you do the capital Z, you know, it like zooms in, takes over the complete window. And it's cool because it shows you the preview of the pane. And then if you're on a window, it shows you the preview of the window, and it updates in real time. So that's pretty cool. And then basically you're, you know, choosing where you want to put your selection, like your cursor and stuff like that. So anyways, that's Tmux choose tree. And when you do prefix S, that's basically just choose tree. You're just choosing the sessions here. So you could switch sessions, and then you can right arrow or left arrow and, you know, open collapse the session and the windows and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot you can do with Tmux. Questions? Oh, one of my favorite things is you do prefix Z and then it blows up the pane. Like it takes over the complete window, and then you do prefix Z and it goes back. That's something I like to do because a lot of times too much output or something you want to focus on. HTOP, the one I like to do is this IF top, which shows me all my network connections. Shows me all my network connections, my, you know, sockets basically. And it shows me the bar represents the amount of traffic going to a particular socket. I rewrote this. It's written in C and curses and PCAP, and I just rewrote it because I wanted to customize it with colors and stuff like that. It's called IF top. But yeah, so I do prefix Z is going to minimize or maximize this particular pane. So I forgot. I think that's Tmux maximize. Let's see, what is it? Just do Tmux LSK, grab for Z. Resize pane, Tmux resize pane. That's what it is. Resize pane. Okay. Anyways, sometimes you capital, okay, Tmux resize pane dash capital Z. Yeah, a lot of these subcommands I don't know by heart because I'm just using the key binding. So then I don't, you know, I don't invoke it, you know, the other ways. That's why I have to look it up.
Use that one for Vim a lot. I'll have Vim open on a pane and then I'll wanna.
Yeah,
expand it.
maximize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, prefix Z, yeah, it's really useful, super useful. It's awesome, yeah. Prefix Z, yep. Yep, that one is very, very useful. Yeah, so that was all of my presentation. And
Question
all
on,
of my configurations, I should mention all my configuration is in my GitHub. And everybody, you know, a lot of people, they do their dot files repos and stuff like that. So this is kind of like mine, but I made it so I could install it on all my servers and everything and every computer. So I have a one-line install, and then it just goes and installs all these packages and configs and all this stuff. But my Tmux config is in, I put it, those are my, so I have my Tmux scripts in Tmux directory, and here I've got all my, like, things that I'm sourcing. Like, for my setups, I just put them in here, and I just source these inside of Tmux. But then, my main config is in install. I call it install because that's what I'm symlinking into my home directory, but in here, this is where my Tmux config is, and this is where I put all my customizations, but I have it broken up so that it's modular, so it's not all there. It's in a variety of locations. I have it all split up because basically I need a different configuration for Mac versus Windows, or not Mac versus Windows, Mac versus Linux versus WSL. All of them have slightly different configs. Unfortunately, there's another thing is Tmux versions. They introduced, breaking changes. So then you've got Tmux configurations based on the version. Less than 2.9, less than 2.1, less than 3.1, greater than 3.1, greater than 2.9, greater than 2.1. And that's what happens when people do breaking changes. So, yeah. So if you're interested, you can go and look at all my configurations. I have a ton of configurations just because, I don't know, it's kind of my hobby is to customize things. This is my main configuration was init.conf where I was, I don't like doing the aliases in my Tmux config. I like doing the full subcommand because it's more obvious in my opinion. But this is where I set up all my key bindings, stuff like that. So there's a whole variety of things you can do. If shell, Tmux if shell, where you do if else, based on some shell command, which is very useful if you're trying to source a file that's for Linux or for Mac, etc. So I think in here, this may have been where the whole paste thing was. Paste. No, I don't know where that is. I remember there being some configuration for Mac OS paste, copy paste inside of Tmux. There was some special config you had to do. I don't remember what that was. So long ago now. A lot of the stuff I haven't touched in years. So, all right, questions?
Yeah, I have a question on scripting.
Yeah,
When you're writing Tmux scripts,
yeah.
can you put them, can you set them up so you can write your own like Tmux subcommand where like how you have like list sessions, I could do something like that.
Like you want to put output in your script?
So either output or maybe I want to configure my panes a certain way. I've used Tmuxinator before for that. I was just wondering how kind of like how that works on a HUD, I guess.
Yeah, so like if you, okay, so if you run a Tmux subcommand that does output, it basically goes into the copy, like this little buffer that shows up that you have to get out of, like in the pane. I don't know, I forgot what that's called. But generally you don't want to put output in your script because it like blocks the rest of the script until you like press Q in this little buffer it pops up on. So, I mean, what was the other part of the question? You wanted to see how to create a scriptable?
You know, like if I get this, not so much for the buffer, but if I want to write a command and say open 3 new panes.
Okay, yeah. All right, I'll demonstrate that. Just kill this session. Okay, so, do something pretty simple like this. So in this case, this is a script file. At the top, it's just having a comment. So the comments start with, pound. Just kind of standard for like shell stuff and, configs. It's just the Vim file type. It sets the file type to Tmux because Vim will syntax highlight, a Tmux file and stuff like that. So good idea to do that. And then anyway, and then in here, I just rename the session, rename the window. Now I select the first pane, then I split it, right? In the two vertical halves, then I select the first pane again. I split it again in the two horizontal halves. Then I select the top pane. Then I send, oh, this is just some crap. Ignore all this, but then you just send keys and you send the command you want to run. And then you just do CM, which is carriage return, which just, executes the command. And then you select another pane. And then you send keys. You can split it again, whatever way you want. The P is for the percent split you want. It doesn't have to be 50-50. Could be 30-70, whatever. Select another pane. Send keys. This is conditionally sending keys based on Mac OS or Linux, basically. That's what this is doing. And so that's really all you do. You just select pane, you can split it. A lot of this kind of trial and error. You gotta play around with it. And it's just sequential. So, it's kind of nice. Like if you had some wrapper layer around where you could say, create this pane with, this dimensions, blah, 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 blah. But with the scripts, you just basically duplicate what you would do manually and you just put it. So a lot of this, I would just run these commands individually until I had what I wanted. And then I would go through my shell history, basically just paste it in here. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely, that makes sense. Is this something that gets, like, is this holding a command that you would run for setting this up, or is this?
Yeah. So once I have this in a file, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bind a key that's gonna source this file. Okay, so that would be in like, maybe in here, this file. So I'm gonna bind a key. You pick whatever key you want. I pick a lot of these uppercase keys because they're not used by Tmux mostly. Because I don't want to overwrite default keys, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So then I bind a key, whatever key I want, and then I do source file, and then I put in my script name. And then whenever I do prefix capital D, sources the script, creates the setup I want. So I can demonstrate that. Prefix capital D, boom. Very fast.
Got it.
Yeah,
Super fast.
yeah, super fast, super easy. So, a lot of stuff, like I don't really need super complicated setups, honestly, usually. I just need like one or two windows with what, I want, and that's about it. So a lot of these more complicated tools, they're for people who have like super elaborate setups, you know? So,
Yeah, in my setups, I usually have them, maybe a web server, and then just an empty shell for
yeah,
typing.
yeah, like, so for that, the script method is, gonna be the easiest and the fastest, for sure.
I just have a few projects where I like to be cool to run a script file, and it would just like automatically start those.
Yeah,
uh, But this is cool.
yeah, yeah, it's, oh, when I talked about recursive Tmux key bindings, this is how you do it. You say bind key dash capital R. So I rebound N and P for recursive key binding so that I could just keep on pressing N and P. And I would just cycle through the windows rather than having to redo the prefix every time. So, create a little thing there, create another one here, create another one here. So then I just press prefix. Okay, I'm locked, but I just do prefix N, and then I go to the next window and I can keep on pressing N because I have the dash R and that's it. I don't have to keep on doing prefix n, prefix n, prefix n, which frankly sucks. So I prefer to do recursive key bindings. That's how you do it. And then the timeout, there's a timeout for the recursive bindings. So you have to specify how long you want the prefix to be activated. I forgot where, oh, here it is. The repeat time. So in this case, I have 3 seconds to do whatever I want after I do the prefix. So I do the prefix, I got 3 seconds to run whatever key bindings I want. And then after I'm done with the last key binding, wait 3 seconds, prefix deactivates. That's how that works for recursive. One thing I really like is capital H. I resize the pane to the left. Capital L, resize the pane to the right. Capital J, down. Capital K, up. So I can demonstrate that I locked this session because, but in Tmux you can do locks where you've got all these complicated things. Basically, I don't want to talk about that because it's out of scope here. But basically with these capital H and stuff, you can do prefix capital H, move the split left and right, capital H, capital L. You can see what I'm doing here?
It's like
Somehow-
maybe a 5%.
Yeah, I'm just resizing the split. You can also, if you have mouse mode activate, you can just click on the split and drag it. That's usually what I do. You can click on any of the splits and redo the split. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've done that. I usually use the mouse for that. That's
Yeah, it's better with the mouse, but I just have these, these, you can do it as well, like this, you know what I'm saying? That way you don't have to leave the keyboard. But I don't really do it that much. I'm just saying, if you wanted to do this, that's how you could do it. And it's recursive because I don't have to hit the prefix, again, right? I'm just pressing, the keys, capital K, over and over again, capital J, and I'm done. I don't have to do the prefix. Now I let go of all the keys, wait 3 seconds, prefix goes away.
Is that number at the end, is that the number of pixels? So like if you wanted to do it by 10 instead of 5, you could do that.
Yeah, I don't know why I have 6 here.
Yeah.
That's a typo basically, but yeah, that's the number of either rows or columns, basically. It's not pixels, it's
Okay, gotcha.
like a
Some unit.
terminal. Yeah, so historically terminals were, I think, what is it, 80 columns wide or something. So it's all based on columns and rows. That's what that number is. What is the command to get tput calls? Whoops. Isn't it? Yeah, so this is 81 columns. I now resize 71 columns. Tput rows. Yeah, to get the rows. Forgot how to get the rows. But anyways, this is either rows or columns, depending on if you're going left or right. It's gonna be columns. If you're going up, down, it's gonna be rows. So that's what that is. So yeah, if you wanted to go faster, up or down or left or right, you could change that. If you wanted. I like having it smaller so they can just hold down the key basically. See, I can just hold down the key actually. Just go up, down, up, down.
Yeah,
We-
that's handy that you have the dash R there.
Yeah, recursive. Without recursive, I'd have to do prefix. I'd have to hit the
Mhm.
prefix every time. I couldn't hold down the key. So. Yeah. You can do things. Another thing I like is I have like, I think prefix, like backslash, or no, this is prefix. I don't know, I have to like other key bindings to switch the sessions and stuff like really quickly. I don't really use multiple sessions. I don't know. So there's just something I did, but then I never used. There's a lot of stuff like that. Um. A lot of these plugins, they use the at prefix for their options, just kind of like that's like a user option. So if you see like set option and an at sign, usually that's some plugin option. I think it's just like a prefix for user options. Oh, I think it's just convention. What else? Um, yeah, I mean, obviously you can configure, Tmux to basically do whatever you want. Um, whatever your setup involves, if you're a Vim guy or Emacs guy, I'm a Vim guy. So I do all the Vim key bindings because I prefer Vim key bindings. So in all my setups, I'm always doing the VI stuff. Because it's better for me personally. Like you can do, like when you're in copy mode VI, you can do slash to search down, you know, question mark search up, and like all the Vim key bindings are available here. Standard stuff. V, go into visual mode. Capital V, go into visual line mode. You know, W, B, E. If you know Vim, you know it's just standard key binding. 0 goes at the beginning of the line, etc. So I love the Vim key bindings. I know them by heart. You know, complete muscle memory. I never have to think about what I'm doing when I'm editing text. So if I have, the more programs I have with Vim key bindings, the better I'm able to do things. So I set up the Vim key bindings everywhere everywhere I can on the command line, on inside of Tmux, inside of Vim, obviously everywhere. So that's what I do. Any questions, other questions?
No, that's all I got.
I have an unrelated question. I noticed you're using Alacrity,
Yeah.
and so my pair convinced me to try it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the cool
I-
kids. When I SSH into another machine, I can't backspace. And I fixed it the other day. It has something to do with the term variable not being set when you SSH in. Have you run into that?
No, I haven't. So I use Alacrity because, basically it's GPU accelerated, it's super fast, like way faster than any other terminal emulator I've ever used, including terminal, iTerm, you name it. And then Alacrity is written in Rust. And, you know, Rust is compiled down the machine code and everything like that, super fast. And the main config, I haven't noticed that exact problem, but I know a lot of the key bindings that were default, in other terminal emulators were not working in Alacrity. And so I had to go in and
Yeah.
add all the ones I cared about, like with the alt, like a lot of the alt key bindings, alt option or meta, whatever, they don't
Yeah.
work in Alacrity by default. So you have to go in and add the ones you care about. And another thing with Alacrity is there's no tabs. So there's multiple windows. And actually there used to not be multiple windows. There's one window only. Because Alacrity is basically, it was kind of like a POC, proof of concept, kind of like a, Kickstarter, whatever. And so they're still under development. So they don't have a lot of the features of other terminal emulators, but they are incredibly fast. So that's what I use Alacrity for. But if you had an issue with certain keys not being sent, I mean,
So I have all those set. And I found the fix, and now I can't remember what it is.
yeah, I know the term are you talking about the term environment variable?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very important. I generally always set that to like X term 256 color, but I don't know, there's a lot of different, like, this isn't mostly important for like term, what is it, term cap and, term info. Those are like programs that basically like Tput, uses those terminal capabilities, term cap, term info, things like clears the screen, and CViz turns off the cursor, so it's invisible. See how it did that? Tput CNorm. All of those are terminal capabilities. And the way term cap and term info, I forgot which one. I think term cap. Okay. Term cap was the earlier one, then it was replaced by term info. But basically those just translate your terminal capabilities like CViz and other ones into the appropriate escape codes for the terminal. And it's and a lot of that is based on that term environment variable. So if you have that set incorrectly, like you could be sending the wrong escape codes and stuff like that. So
There was a way, once I was in the SSH tunnel, I was able to get feedback on what it was displaying, and it was like Herrick question mark was backspace.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I changed it.
yeah. Caret question mark is it's either like it depends. Yeah, like a lot of the keys, like enter key is actually like control J or whatever. Like a lot of the the keys that you're pressing are actually translated before they get sent to the terminal. Like I know a lot of the function keys, like if you do type read and you press function keys, you'll see the exact codes that get sent. And yeah, I know like delete, let's see, there's delete and then there's backspace and they all send different codes and you can be really confused. Um, yeah, I know that can be quite confusing. And a lot of terminal emulators allow you to change what actual codes get sent to the terminal emulator. Like, you can change what F1 does. I think terminal, if you go into settings, it allows you to change like all these, the actual escape codes that these keys are sending. And I don't use function keys because they're too far away and I don't find them useful. So, but a lot of that stuff can get really confusing because you don't know with your particular terminal emulator, is it sending the right escape codes? Stuff like that.
Yeah, it was just blowing my mind because every time I would make a mistake and typing a command, I would hit backspace and it would go forward. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yep, that's
And then
a
it's I
escape code.
turn, we're fine.
Lost in translation escape codes.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much for the presentation.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Jacob.
All right. Oh, I have somebody in the chat. Oh yeah. Reattach the user's namespace. That's exactly
Yeah.
that thing that I was talking about. Reattach to user namespace. I don't even know if that's still needed.
Yeah, it's from
Yeah.
a while ago. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
what was that?
I understand I have that too for my Mac, and
yeah,
my
I think that's just for Tmux copy mode. I don't think that has anything to do with Vim copying to the clipboard.
Right.
Yeah, so with Vim, what I do, let me just look at that. I haven't, I don't do like all day I'm doing like chat GPT bots and stuff like that. That's what I'm doing. And nowadays in the API, like I'm not doing like, Vim configurations and stuff. Like I just haven't done this stuff in a while. So it's been a while. I think for Vim, I do, what do I do? Paste clip. basically, I just, I get this paste command based on the OS and I send based on, see, I'm setting this register. Alright, am I doing that? Sorry, I gotta do some research here. That's the thing is the more config you have. Oh, copy clip. Okay. That's what I'm doing. System. Okay, so I'm basically, what I'm doing in Vim is I get the contents of the visual selection.
Mm,
Then I think I'm stripping white space around on the, trailing and leading white space, and then I do call system. I get the system copy commands, which is on Mac, PB copy. So I just do I execute PB copy and I send in the stripped visual selection. That's what I'm doing.
gotcha.
Yeah, I'm actually not using that star register like I thought. But yeah, so that's how I do it. I just make selection. And I've got this bound to some, key binding, whatever, you can do whatever you want. I just have it visual mode. I bind it. I've got it bound to control B because that was the Tmux prefix, but I changed it to control A. So I do control B and then I call this Vim function.
Mm,
And then I, basically resume my last visual selection. That's what I'm doing there. So I go to the end. No, I go to the end of my visual selection. That's what I'm doing. That's a mark. So I make as a visual selection, I press Control B, and then I put my cursor at the end of my visual selection. And then now it's on the system clipboard, so I can go anywhere with it. So that's what I do in Vim, because the Tmux copy mode, it's too annoying with the line numbers and all that crap. So it's easier just to use the system clipboard, in my opinion.
gotcha. Yeah, I remember having some issues with it back in the day. I haven't used Tmux in a while, but now you make me want to use it again.
Yeah, I mean, I use terminal all the time, so I'm always in Tmux. I don't do the config stuff like really anymore because I'm just focused on work stuff. So yeah. But whenever I find bugs, I will fix it. Like I found that one bug. Thank you. Where I set the wrong height. I don't know why I did 6 there. But I'm gonna fix that now. But yeah, that's
Great.
all I got. Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jacob.
Um.